Over to you, Narayana.
Thanks a lot for the introduction, and thanks everyone for joining this evening session on a Friday. I hope I won't bore you much, but I would like to share a lot of things about the IBM Academic Initiative. So I'll share my screen first. Can you see my screen? Okay. Okay, so I'll start with a quote. The principal goal of education in the schools should be creating men and women who are capable of doing new things, not simply repeating what other generations have done. So there is a need for a lot of innovation and upskilling. And one obstacle with enterprises digital transformation. So I think with COVID has become a major contributor for digital transformation. Even before COVID, there were a lot of enterprises which were trying to digitally transform. And one limitation or obstacle is the skilled workforce. By 2022, according to World Economic Forum, about 54% of the workforce will require a significant reskilling and upskilling. And the technology industry in specific is facing a major skills gap. For example, the estimated number of currently qualified researchers in the field is 300,000 globally, including students. And we probably would require 1 million of artificial intelligence specialists in the future, because it's changing a lot of areas and bringing a lot of improvements. And with cybersecurity as well, there is a huge shortage of skills, and they're expecting a shortage of around 1.8 million professionals by 2022. So a crucial frontline role is being played by institutions like yourself in helping tackle the challenges that industries are facing in terms of research and partnerships. And the goal is here to develop the next generation of skilled professionals right from the university education. So even with the universities, they are facing some kinds of challenges in education because it's continuously changing. And the major challenges, the expectations of customers are changing and the needs are changing, and technologies are evolving every day. What's popular today will not be popular tomorrow, and we need to upskill. And one measure of higher education effectiveness is through the placement, right? So depending on how many job placements have been successfully done through the university would be a good measure of how effective education is. And I think one challenge is the skills and experience that are required rather than just a big core base of knowledge. So with that, IBM has been doing an academic initiative. This is mainly for students and faculty. So the process is IBM would like to provide some resources without any charge, so free of cost, and it's a self-service program, and that can help gain the required skills that can help distinguish themselves in their career. In terms of students, they can do a lot of courses and also hands-on on cloud. And for faculty, there are some course enablements and labs that they can, if they like it, they might want to make it part of the curriculum itself. So some examples in Germany, students projects explored and helped advance AI human interactions. So there were some universities and there were young academics to use commercial AI technology. And here is a blog where we can have some details about it and more examples. So, and coming back to the actual academic initiative portal. So like I said, no charges for classroom as long as the research is non-commercial, and you will get access to IBM Cloud and some cloud-based resources. And there are a number of digital badges that the students can complete. And you also get access to some software. You can download them. they are the ones that are used by our clients. So they are commercial grade, and you will have access to use that software as part of your curriculum or to show hands-on experience for students as well. And you also get access to enterprise quality courses, and there are like content and education sites that we can look at. So there are quite a few universities and students that are currently benefited from this. And the best part is you will learn in-demand skills. Like we have different technologies that are quite hot. And for example, we have resources on power systems, and then we have AI, cognitive, Watson. We have access to IBM cloud resources, data science, cybersecurity, and then we also have access to blockchain. And quantum computers are also a big thing, and IBM is providing access to the quantum computers through an API called QuizKit, which can be experimented upon, and you could write your own gates and create algorithms. And IBM Z, and then engineering lifecycle. So these are 9 major technology areas that we think are important, and there is a skill demand for these technologies. So for example, if you look at data science, you will have, so this is the link. I'll show you at a later stage again. And you'll have resources and courses, badges, and software that can be downloaded and used. So with that, I will show, there is another demo that I'll show directly in the website, how to register and things like that. And so I'll give you a demo of the website, how to use it. So there is ibm.com/academic. That's the homepage. And again, like I mentioned, these are all the special features of this initiative. And how do we access? We have to go to this URL and then click on register now. So this is the same for students as well as faculty. You could register your institution, or students can register on their own. And then it will ask you for an academic institution issued email to begin with, to confirm that you are either a student or a faculty. And then once you go through the registration process, it will ask for a few more details. And once you accept the terms of service and privacy consent, you will be provided access to the resources that are available. So mainly cloud access. So I think on IBM Cloud, we have many services available, and with the limited access, you will still get access to around 40 different services that are available on IBM Cloud. And there is a big list of software that can be accessed, and also a list of courses. Like I mentioned earlier, these are the 8 main technologies that are being covered. And for example, if you select quantum computing, it will give you access to the IBM Q website, as well as some example resources. And for software, for example, you could use the Watson Studio Desktop, which is an SPSS modular functionality. And there is a model building and data exploration available specific to data science. So students can use this desktop to exercise their R and Python skills with Jupyter notebooks. And you have many more softwares available. With respect to courseware, these are designed in terms of courses, and some of these courses could be an inspiration, and teachers could pick some of the interesting topics that are not currently covered in their curriculum and provide them as an way to upskill the students on those courses which are currently being used by enterprises and are in demand. And then there is a section for badges. And these are like, you'll have around 3 to 4 hours of work needed. There will be an foundational courses and some deep dives. And there will be a lab sometimes which you need to complete to claim the badge. And these badges are accredited and they have visibility across the industry. So it will come with an IBM badge, which is well recognized by other employers as well. And then there is a careers tab where some job opportunities will be posted and students can look at what's the expectation from IBM or other industries, and you could look at the job requirements, skills expected, and then plan your careers. And then there are a lot of additional resources in the page. For example, you have a cognitive class. It's more like the content is free and it's not exactly like an online training site, but a little different. And I have done a lot of courses in cognitiveclass.ai. It has got learning plans and you could schedule different. It'll tell you how much percentage is completed and things like that. And then there is digital education. That's another initiative. And there are resources around design thinking as well. So this shows an example of how you can download a particular software. So there will be certain versions you can download and use. And one thing to remember is these are not for commercial purposes. So ensure that it's only for research. And then shows an example of how you can download the software.
पप्पा कसो करतो नहीं खाली खोटो 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 बोला हमारे विषय एक जापट मारो तो पापा
Excuse me, if you're not actually talking or presenting, could you please mute your mic?
So with the IBM Cloud, so in order to access IBM Cloud, there are different kinds of accounts. Like IBM Cloud Lite is the basic version, which gives you access to 40 services. And then for enhanced access to the IBM Cloud platform, you could request for a feature code, which will be like a code which you can use to get additional access. And you also have access to Cabanero and Open Liberty. So when we ask for an feature code, you will be provided with a promo code that you can use to access the IBM Cloud resources. And there is an FAQ section which covers a lot of questions that we might have of what is considered eligible academic use and is there any limit on how many products I can download and things like that. So there is quite a detailed FAQ there. And then there is this agreement, which you need to, of course, read and accept. And then there are guidelines around how the software can be used, what users are allowed to do with the software and what they are not allowed to. So this can definitely not be used as part of an commercial offering, or so it has to be purely academic research, non-commercial research and educational purposes only. And the best part is it's all free of cost and no need to pay anything and don't have to give credit card details or anything as well. And then there will be a privacy statement that we have to accept. And so this is what I explained earlier as well. So Open Liberty is kind of a lightweight framework which can be used to build Java microservices. And within data science, there are things like the modeler I mentioned earlier. So you can drag and drop your way to ML You can build your models and explore data. And then there is an analysis decision support toolkit, which can be used. So probably depending on the course and the electives that the students have chosen, they can pick those related enterprise level courses, and that will supplement their regular study. And then we also have Cognos Analytics, gives examples of how we can use AI and ML. As far as cybersecurity, which is my area of expertise, there is an interesting academy called IBM Security Learning. It provides free technical training on IBM security products. And you could create a curriculum and also enroll to some of the courses as you like. And you will get access to the QRadar SIM, which is an security monitoring software that identifies threats across the enterprise and also provides offenses and insights on any possible threats. So QRadar is very popular software used by many enterprises for their SIM to analyze logs and find any threats in the logs. So you will get access to the community version and you could play with it. You could install it at home and you can monitor how your the network that you are doing, right? So if you can find any malwares and any bad malicious actors within your home network. And then quantum computing is quite interesting and it's quite complex as well. So if you have some background of quantum physics, you'll understand more about how quantum computers work. They are based on principles that are at the nanoparticle level. So at a we are talking about very small, like electrons and neutrons in that dimension. So these quantum algorithms are so similar to classical algorithms. Classical algorithms can solve classical problems, but quantum computers can solve the same classical problem in a very less amount of time because they can represent these as, instead of just zeros and ones, you can represent anything in quantum states, which is neither zero nor one, but a combination of them. So you could have multiple states you can represent, and that will help with computation, and hard mathematical problems can be solved with quantum computers within shorter amounts of time. And there are quite a few applications of quantum computers today with respect to simulation of molecules, and there is chemistry. And IBM has got a quantum computer, which we like to provide access to the quantum computer for experimentation. So anyone and everyone can access the quantum computer and write their own quantum algorithms. They can create gates. So for that, they provided an open source quantum computing framework. So this might be a good area of interest for faculty if you'd like to include a small introductory course on what are quantum computers and some of the concepts of quantum computers. And probably it's a little nascent in stage, but 10 years down the line, I think there will be a number of jobs in the field of quantum computing. So a nice introduction would help students gain some early education on quantum computers. And then IBM engineering, this is related to the workflow management that's involved in an engineering life cycle. So how do we enable teams to adopt faster release cycles? And how do we manage dependencies between projects? And there is quite a bit of resources available on this. And then we also have resources on IBM Z systems. You get access to an enterprise grade Linux environment, and there are some code patterns and tutorials that are available. And these for developers, you could do some development activity in C, C++, COBOL, or any of these languages. And we also provide an IBM Z academic cloud for teaching and research purposes. And then power systems, if you are familiar with power systems, they are quite powerful, and they are very fast. So they can help speed up AI vision, and they have learning models as well. And so there are quite a few resources on power systems as well. And then many of you might be familiar with the blockchain and the way it has changed the world. And there are a number of resources, and IBM is a strong supporter of open source. They have got an blockchain technology called Hyperledger Fabric, which is used by enterprises for their blockchain platforms. So with blockchains, the benefit is you provide a lot of things like provenance and immutability. So with blockchain, you're talking about decentralized databases and decentralized transaction management without the ability for anyone to tamper with, or it's against fraud. And so it's a combination of both decentralized databases and cryptography. So you're kind of protecting your data cryptographically so that it provides those abilities such as immutability and non-tamperable. So it's an interesting technology to learn depending on your interest. And I'm not sure if you have some courses in blockchain already in your curriculum, but would be nice to introduce some of these concepts. When you're talking about centralized databases, probably you could also introduce decentralized databases and how blockchain, how it is different from a centralized database. And then IBM Watson is our AI specialist, and we have a number of services on the cloud. There are like services, for example, image recognition and text to speech conversion and speech to text conversion, and then Watson discovery. So there are quite a few tools that are available. So you can train models, and you could access those resources as well. And the other interesting resources are, we have university guest lectures, which is quite interesting, which I'll cover a bit later. And then there is a TJ Bot project, which is a fun way to code an AI robot. And all step-by-step instructions are provided, so students can really learn AI by doing this exercise. And then IBM has been engaged with open source for decades, and you'll get an idea about how IBM is promoting open source projects. So with that, I'll stop here for any questions, and then I'll move on to the next session.
A quick question. The QRadar, the SEAM software, one thing that would be good from a teaching perspective is having sample data, even if it was simple sample data. I assume that wouldn't be included in the community edition.
So I think the way QRadar works is you need to give access to the log network data. So when we configure QRadar community, it will be actually monitoring our own network, right? When we install QRadar community on my laptop, it will start monitoring the network. Like if I access Gmail or Facebook or any of those internet facing websites, it will have access to those logs, and it will provide interesting insights from that. Any alerts, anything suspicious or weak protocols being used, it will try to find out. And yeah.
Right, thanks.
Yeah, so yep. So data will be available readily.
Students who are here, if you have any questions, if you don't want to come out and ask questions, you can also chat, send a message to the chat. So we will answer those questions.
Yeah, I got a quick question.
Mhm.
It may be related to interpretation, but all of these academic tools, they were mentioned that they are for free access, right? The question is, are they for free as long as we as students belong to an academic institution? Or
That's
even
correct.
after we finish the degree, would they still be freely accessible for any of us?
I don't think so. Through the academic initiative program, it's only until you are part of the institution and your email ID is valid. But some of the courses in cognitiveclass.ai, so if you complete a course, they will provide you with some promo codes, and that will give you access to some resources as well. So one way is to go through, you can create an account on IBM Cloud, a personal account. Again, in that case, you'll get access to the light one, which is a limited version. I mean, you'll have limits on how much data you can perform your ML on or things like that. So does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm trying to register myself onto this academic area, but
You're
it
getting an
always
error?
gives me error. It always gives me error, said
Yeah.
parameters not matched with password.
So, okay.
The academic registration.
So have you tried it today or in the
Yeah, I
past?
tried it twice. Can't register. Maybe I can try it later.
Yep. And if you face some problems, you could send me an email or with a screenshot of whatever you're getting or something like that, so I can check it out or connect you to the concern.
Is it an individual registration or an institute registration?
It asks us CQU's email. We must be an institution member.
Yeah.
But I can't get through. You may try it later.
Sure.
Okay. Also, we set IBM Z technology, which is related to the mainframe technology, isn't it?
Correct.
Okay. I think we have some collaboration.
Okay, I might show you some the website itself, how it looks, and probably. So this is how the website actually looks. I haven't registered myself because I'm not from the academic thing, and I haven't tried if I can get it with an IBM ID, but this is how the website looks, and you have the 8 technologies that I mentioned. And you have resources based on the discipline as well. So for example, you have law, so legal, industry, and with these technologies, how legal is using these technologies to address certain use cases. And similarly with healthcare, you have some resources. So how we are using smart contracts in the legal space, in law. So it will again redirect you to some of those. And again with healthcare, how can we use data science and analytics in healthcare and blockchain in healthcare, IoT, quantum, security, and design thinking. So if I click on this IBM Cloud, so it will show these, right? Software, courseware badges and careers. So it's actually just searching for cloud with IBM's career page, I think. But that's how it should show. And if you click on software, once you log in, it will actually provide more options. And you could try those resources. Courseware would be mainly, I think, for faculty for looking at some of these courses and see if they want to pick certain tutorials to be included in their subjects. And these are badges. So you could complete a badge and it takes you to Credly. So it's gone. Probably these are a bit outdated, but normally what I do is I go to cognitiveclass.ai. And there are quite a few learning paths here. So if you complete this course, you'll finish 3 courses and also be awarded 3 badges. And now again, microservices, reactive architecture, Kubernetes and DevOps is also quite interesting topics. So you have a number of learning paths, and this is something for students to explore. So it shows different paths depending on your area of interest. And you could complete the learning path. It will have access to lab as well. And if you follow and complete courses, it will also give you access to, it will also give you some promo codes for some courses, which are like cloud credits. So this is a syllabus it will cover. How do I create smart contracts? So getting back, so those are the 5 you might want to check. Okay, and then I'll show you one. I would like to, so that's about the cloud academic initiative. So that kind of completes most of it. So once you register, you will and play with it, you will probably have further questions or things that you'd like to know. But if I go back to what I wanted to cover, so there is this awards program, and there are different kinds of awards, and IBM being the headquarters in the US, I think they prefer US universities, but if some non-US universities are also have a good good nomination, then probably they might be awarded these as well. So these are like PhD fellowship awards and master fellowship awards and academic awards. So for this year, I think it's completed. I think the deadline is done, but FAQs is something you might want to have a look at and see if we qualify. So these are the areas of interest, I think, for IBM, because it's betting high on these technologies. And eligibility is for students of all nationalities, like this is saying. So it says non-US citizens who wish to participate in an internship in the US must obtain. So I don't know how relevant this would be for Australian universities, but you might want to check the eligibilities and if some students are interested, they could try this. And there is this Master's Fellowship Awards as well. And again, you might want to look at the FAQ and see if we qualify for that. But like I mentioned, it's I think generally enterprises, they focus on the country where the headquarters are located, which in this case is US. So I would imagine that you might, if you qualify for this award, you might have to go to the US and get work authorization or something. But I would encourage you to go through these FAQs and see if you are eligible and qualify for this one. And then the last thing I wanted to cover today is the university guest lectures. We have around 386 different guest lectures available. So you can find the topic and some abstract of that. So these are timed in around, so there are some with some virtual ones, right? No travel required, on demand. So you could select some of these, and if any of these guest lectures are of interest for you, you could request for the speaker to come and talk. If the speaker is based in Australia, otherwise you could ask for a virtual session on that topic. And then, so this might be something that could be leveraged by the university based on your schedules. You could invite a guest lecturer to talk about things that relate to your course that you are teaching. And then I would like to cover this TJBot example. So this is, you can find these instructions in research.ibm.com/TJBot. This is a really interesting one. So I will share the video maybe. So are you able to hear the sound and see the video?
It hasn't started, has it? No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So I think I'm not. Are you able to see? And
We can see the picture, but I don't see it playing though.
okay. Okay, let me try. I think I need to optimize for video clip and share sound, and then it will play. Can you see and hear?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So that's more like an robot that you can add Watson services to the TJ bot, and you could treat it like a bot that can talk to you. So you can, it uses an Raspberry Pi and connects to Watson services. So this is a good little experiment, and it has all the instructions. And you could actually 3D print the TJ bot, or you could buy this cardboard from, so there is a Spark Fun website, you could order it from here. But it's a good example of an physical robot. You're building your own AI robot and coding, and you have all the resources needed, and you could talk to your robot, it'll respond to you and things like that. It's quite an interesting one, which you could make it as part of curriculum if you think it's useful for the students. And then, so I would like to cover developer.ibm.com, which has quite a few resources called code patterns. So they actually provide you the code for each of these use cases. For example, if you want to build a cloud native application for financial services on IBM Cloud, which is based on microservices and runs on Red Hat OpenShift. So you could code it from the beginning. All you need to follow is the instructions, and that way the learning curve will be smaller. You know how it works and what are the steps involved in how do cloud native applications work, how do I create one, how do I deploy it to the cloud. So there are hundreds and hundreds of code patterns available. So how do I control your smart home using open source? So these are code patterns, are you already have solutions to problems that developers face, and you could take that as your initial sample and experiment with it. You can then further build upon it and modify it to suit your needs. So I would definitely encourage students to look at these code patterns and try them on the cloud. And then there are tutorial style solutions as well. And you also have videos with episodes and a lot of things that are available.
Can you remove the optimization you have put earlier or something? The clarity is less now. It's
sorry.
not very clear.
Yeah, I think that's. Is this better now?
Very good.
This is developer.ibm.com, and you can view these resources by technology. So if you are interested in a particular technology, you could look at those resources, or you could directly look at the code patterns, which are example code for normal problems, which act as an baseline, and you could improve upon that to suit your requirements. And there are a number of tutorials you could go through, and video tutorials as well, tech talks by experts in that area. And then you have article style, and you also have API and SDK access. And they regularly conduct things like conferences, digital conferences, which are free to attend. For example, this is current, and this is probably in the next week. So you could go straight to that and register. I'm already registered, and there should be, these are the tracks that are being covered in parallel. So choose which track you'd like to get into and which topics interest you, and you could watch those online. And if you complete the lab, you will also be awarded with a certificate saying that you have attended this conference and you are now have knowledge about this and this. So there will be badges associated with the conference as well. This is a good way to learn and get some badges, and that could go to your see, if you look at the speakers, there are quite a few IBM fellows and distinguished engineers. So you will definitely learn a lot from this. So these are the 2 badges I think you'll get. And you could put your badges, you could share the badges in LinkedIn, and that could differentiate you from everyone else when you're applying for jobs. And the last topic I wanted to cover for today is call for code. This is IBM's way to work around the global challenges that we are facing. So call for code has been here from, I think, 2 or 3 years. I have been talking about this in most of my presentations to CQU. And this is like a challenge that, and they have a theme this time. This time the theme is, they picked 3 goals from the 17 sustainability goals by the United Nations. The 3 themes are, the first one is clean water and sanitation. So how do we ensure that water is clean and available to everyone? So how do we recycle water? How do you reduce waste of water? And in remote areas, it's really, water is like gold. It's hard to find drinking water and they have to travel quite a bit. So how can you use technology to solve this problem? So the question is, can we use technology to make an impact on availability of water and its consumption? So you can come up with a solution, and the requirement is that you want to demonstrate how technology can be leveraged to solve this real world problem, and you can create an impact on the world that exists today, and you can improve upon it. And then the second challenge is around zero hunger. So there are, according to some statistics, there are around 135 million people in the world who suffer from acute hunger. And the major reason is climate change. And how can we help farmers and the producers of crops to grow crops at the same time? How do we avoid food wastage? Can we use blockchain technology to have impact on the supply chain and ensure that you save perishables from perishing and make sure they reach homeless shelters? So they will also provide some kits, sample kits, that can help you to start with. And then you think of an idea. The way it works is, you form a team, and you should have a developer and a designer and probably an app developer, and then you brainstorm ideas. You think of your users, come up with a problem that they are facing currently, and think of an ideal solution that can work. And you have to create a video demonstrating how your solution can create the impact and solve this problem. And they expect just a minimum viable product, which indicates that yes, this idea can be implemented. So they're not expecting a fully working functional production quality code. They're just expecting that if you can demonstrate something that proves that this idea will work and can be you can spend money on this and make it a reality, then you might win some prizes. And then the third interesting topic is responsible production and green consumption. So this is about the carbon footprint and how do we ensure that, so IBM has actually promised that it will go zero. I mean, it will go to net zero by 2030. So it has committed to an climate goal for 2030, according to which it would like to reduce its greenhouse gas emissions 65% by 2025. And then it wants to procure 75% of electricity from renewable resources by 2025, and by 2030 that should grow to 90%. And they want to use some technologies that actually capture carbon So you can balance whatever you're emitting, you're again capturing. If you are, I'm not sure if many of you are aware of it, but there are some companies coming up which actually consume carbon. And they are quite popular now. There is something called Earth. So if you look at ASX, there is an ETF called Earth, which covers all these companies which are trying to consume that greenhouse gases. And by using technologies that consume those, you are trying to again reduce the carbon footprint. And I'm also actually planning to, we have an internal call for code challenge as well. So I'm part of that. And I'm planning to work out on an solution for this as well. So I've been reading a bit about carbon footprint and how do companies measure. It seems apparently when you purchase a product online, if you go with the longest shipping time, that's less carbon footprint. If you are going for an instant one, the carbon footprint is high. So there is a cost associated in terms of carbon emissions whenever we are purchasing something online. And if you are returning an item, again, that's another expense. And it's also indirectly contributing to carbon emissions. So these are all very interesting things to know. And probably like with respect to sustainability, they say that whenever you're buying some product, think about what happens after the product is being used. So say I'm buying a car, what happens to once the car stops working, what happens to all those material used in the car manufacturing? So manufacturing companies have now started thinking about the full life cycle, not just functionality, but the life cycle. So how does this end? What to do? How do we recycle all those when they are no longer usable? And then there is also a university challenge where the grand prize is 10,000 USD. Last year, students from Australia won second prize globally, which was awesome. So I would really encourage enthusiastic students to participate in this competition. This is the timeline. So it's already launched and the submissions will open this month. And you have from April to July to submit your solution. And the winners will be announced in November. And the criteria is quite simple. Your solution should be complete and transferable. It has to be effective and efficient. And the design and how usable it is, how creative, how innovative is your solution. So these are the criteria used for judging. And you could have up to 5 participants. University students can directly participate in the university challenge. And it has to be an newly done code. You can't use some other project code. So it has to be new and built in within the competition time. And you are expected to open source your code so many people can contribute to this. Yeah, I think that concludes my talk. And I'm open for questions.
It was a lot of information, very, very, thank you very much. That was very informative. Again, back to the tools for students, the learning resources that they get access to, the online courses and so on. What's the magnitude, or how long do they take? Are they 1 hour, 1 week, or what's the level of content in those?
Yeah, generally most of the courses are, they have designed it as learning paths, which will contain 3 courses. So each course will take around 3 to 4 hours is the norm. But there might be some courses which are 6 or 7 hours, but generally the minimum I saw is like 1 hour or 2 hours, but most of the time they are 3 to 4 hours if it's a foundational course.
Okay, thanks.
And there might be a quiz at the end. So if they complete the quiz successfully, then they'll be awarded a badge.
That's a good resource.
I was just going to say, I think our students will look forward to that.
Yeah.
I have a couple of questions, may I? Probably, thank you for sharing this info, especially like the idea of badge. I couldn't get to the link of this badge, especially Kubernetes I was looking for. You showed me a different link while you were giving a talk, which is not there to get to the Kubernetes badge. Can you please share that link, and is it for students too?
So are you talking about the digital conference or?
Badges. Remember,
Okay.
you showed me Kubernetes contributor, app modernization basics, and so on.
Oh, okay. That's through the academic initiative program, right? So I think you might have to register to get access to that. But some of these cognitiveclass.ai and developer.ibm.com digital conferences, they are like, you don't need to be part of the IBM Academic Initiative.
We are part of IBM Academic Initiative since 2017, and
okay.
I use that to teach a couple of cloud units.
Okay.
And yes, all of the students enroll those 2 units. They use IBM Academic Initiative and the promo code and many of the resources within the cloud. But I haven't included the badge in the unit, which I intend to. Hence, I was wondering if the link, because when I click learn more in Kubernetes contributors, it doesn't bring me anything.
Okay, maybe it's if you can show me or take a screenshot and send it to me, I can. I think Mary has my address. I can check with the team that maintains that website and see if it's because it's either the link is broken or the course has been removed and not updated. So I can definitely find out.
While you were giving a talk, you showed us a link where it can go there. I was wondering if you were happy to share that link. That I will explore, and of course I'll let Mary know if I still cannot find it out.
Okay, let me see if I can take you there. And probably you could point me.
Fantastic for students.
I'm glad you're already part of it. I was not aware that some of you guys are already using it, which is good to hear. Is this the one you're?
Yeah, that's so a couple of links are working, but that one is not. And I am keen to get that particular badge if I can to students.
So it looks like the badge is no longer available, but I'll take this. I'll talk to the concerned.
Thank you. That's pretty much from me. And also to let Lily know, Lily, if you choose the button which says we are already registered, then you should be able to get a promo code to use the cloud. If you want to register, that is a long process, but if you we are already registered, so choose the button which says already registered.
Ray.
There is one question from a student. She's asking for about graduate programs. So yesterday we had a talk from AWS that talked about internships and graduate programs, and that's so what is IBM's offering there?
I think I have recently posted on my LinkedIn some graduate roles, but unfortunately they are only for Australian citizens and PR holders, I think. And probably if the students are international and do not have a PR, they might not be eligible, but there isn't much that I can do. So I think it's the law of the land. So they want to give first preference to Australian citizens and PR holders.
Yeah. And what about internships? Do you take paid or unpaid interns?
I think last year, at least from my lab, due to COVID, they have canceled the internship program last year because of COVID. This year, they haven't got the approvals yet. But if I get to know, I'll definitely let Mary know, or if it is an open one, then I will share it on my LinkedIn as well.
Thanks.
And you could, in careers.ibm, you could actually create a profile, students. So that will send you some notifications if something appears that's of your interest. So that's also there. So how many students here are international students and do not have PR or citizenship?
The majority of our postgraduate students are international, and they have the opportunity to do an internship through the university, but I think they're looking for something with more scope than that. But possibly from what you've just said, they may be ineligible for IBM.
Yeah, I have been mentoring a few students from different universities, and the same concern I see. I don't know how to help them, but yeah, some companies, even there are a number of internships in defense, and there are some forums there where you can find those internships. But again, the same concern is still there, that they have strict requirements.
I think what we'll do is we'll ask Tina Ho, who's our rule officer for ICT, to look into it and let us know. That way we can post it on our LinkedIn site.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So can I take a snapshot and post it on LinkedIn if anyone has any objections?
No, but I suggest everybody come back and turn
Video mode
back on.
Turn your cameras on, everyone.
Yes.
And if possible, I would like to get a list of faculty or students who have registered to the academic initiative program, so I can give some feedback back to them, back to my.
Okay, I think we can do that.
So whoever are comfortable, if you can
Most of the students
switch on your video.
You don't have camera, or some of them may not have a video working or something. Yeah. If you have a video working, please come on if you don't have any problems.
Here we go.
Yufeng is there?
Yes.
Yufeng, how come you're not coming on? Oh, okay. Yeah, people are taking time, so.
Yeah.
Before it crashes, we should take a snapshot soon.
There's a few that have said they haven't got a camera, so we might actually be at the capacity of.
Okay. So when I say 3, 2, 1, we all smile or shake our hands, whatever. 3, 2, 1. Yep, I got it.
Excellent.
So I think you mentioned that you have access to the academic initiative, right? So do you have any feedback that I need to tell them, or what courses did you have a look at, or what technologies did you have, Biplob?
We mainly use Watson IoT and
Okay.
Watson AI, text to speech, speech to text, and Node-RED.
Oh yeah.
connect sensors through Node-RED, through what's on IoT, and create dashboards and so on. In terms of mode, we just use platform as a service, nothing else, because Academic Initiative doesn't allow to use infrastructure as a service. So it would be nice if IBM allow in certain level infrastructure as a service model to students. That way students can get a little bit of flavor of that side too.
Yep.
When you talk about that optimization, I would like to know what sort of technology behind there. Do you have something on any sort of evolutionary computation, particle swarm optimization or something students can have a look at, because we teach that?
Not
no. Okay, I will
to
have
the
a
best
look.
of my knowledge.
Yeah. Because I saw they are using some of those, there are few on optimization. So what sort of technology they use there in optimization?
Yeah, I think cybersecurity and probably cybersecurity, definitely you have some courses, right?
Yeah.
So anything related to cybersecurity, I'm like the contact, can help change or give feedback. The rest of them I'm learning on my own. So I don't actually work on quantum or any of those. That's out of my interest. I learn them.
Hello. Mehdi, could you please mute your microphone? Thanks.
I muted it.
Best host.
Now, previously I couldn't find, because there were so many and I couldn't find which ones was unmuted. So, yeah. And also, I think we have got one of our RHT students here. Do you have any question? I think we'll be looking at using that IBM Wizard, which is where there is a cloud. So one of our students will be doing some work where we want to use some CPU power, doing some extra computations, which we want to try on cloud. We have got SPC here, but then if we experiment with that later on, this application needs to be running on home, so they will not have SPC. So we want to test with right from the beginning using power from the computing power from a cloud. So are there any restrictions on using the CPU, or we have to pay for, or everything is free in that IBM is under the academic initiative?
What does RST stand for?
Or research higher degree student.
Okay. Yeah. I think like Biplob mentioned that compute is not currently available. If probably I'll go with what Biplob said. So I think if that's correct, compute is not available. I can check with that again.
Yeah.
To find out.
Yeah.
I think they're providing only 40 services out of 150 or some more services that are actually available on IBM Cloud for enterprise customers. They're providing the bare minimum for educational purposes. Anyways, I think I'll give back some time to all of you. Thank you so much to be here and listening to my talk, and yeah, appreciate all your time.
And I appreciate
Friday.
We all appreciate you doing that here for us. So
thank you very much. It was very informative, and I am interested to make use of some of the guest lectures again, but it has to fit in with their time and also our time within that course. Some of them are really interesting. I had a look earlier, but I haven't scheduled anything yet. Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you. Hope to stay in touch.